those overnight closures of the transit system, they're being hailed a success this morning by so many people, right? The transit chief, Sarah Feinberg, she was on our air this morning. She's vowing to make sure commuters who need the subways overnight will not be left stranded. Here's what she said earlier this morning to me.
If you were a subway rider between the hours of 1 and 5, if you were an essential worker, we've provided an enormous amount of bus service. If that's not going to work for you because it will take you more than an hour and 20 minutes or require 3 or more transfers, we're going to make sure that you have a ride. And so it's not an issue of paying for it. We're paying for it. We're going to make sure you get where you need to go.
So now we're hearing from the other side, right? The commuters who had to deal with those service disruptions. So joining us this morning, Jackie Cohen from the Straphangers Campaign. Good morning to you, Jackie. Thank you for joining us. We want to make sure we cover all aspects of this. So did you hear from riders last night so far? I know it's pretty early, right? It's only day 1 here, but any complaints right now about last night's disruptions?
Yeah, so it's still early. We expect to hear from more folks throughout the day. One thing that we did hear was from riders who had trouble figuring out, how to connect to that essential connection service. So for riders that aren't taking bus service or can't because their commute would be too long, I think that the MTA is still working at the kinks on that end. But from what we heard, there was, little information about how to connect to those shuttle services, or, the MTA talked about providing Ubers and Lyfts and taxi service and dollar van service for those riders that need the help in getting to work. And I think that those details are still being worked out.
Yeah. Yeah, and Sarah Feinberg this morning was very honest on our air and said, look, thanks for bringing us those concerns, and we are still working out the tweaks and things for that specific item there. But I wanted to get into this with you. What were you worried about heading into this, right? Did you have any concerns going into it that maybe you were surprised about this morning?
A lot of concerns, and I don't know that they've necessarily been addressed or eased, but I think our biggest concern when we heard about this closure is that it's so unprecedented, right? The New York City is a 24-hour city. Our subway systems are, transport riders 24 hours of the day, and there are still many workers, essential workers. I think there's about 11,000 that still travel during these hours, right? Even though ridership on the subway is down about 90% right now. And one of our biggest concerns is, when will things go, everybody has this concern, when will things go back to normal? But when will subway service return to 24-hour service? We haven't really been given a clear answer to that. The governor has said when the pandemic ends, but what does that mean? Does that mean when the city goes off of its pause order and starts to, go back to work? It's been pretty unclear. Another concern that we had is, with bus service. Obviously, we really more than ever will be relying on buses to transport workers during the hours of 1 and 5, and the MTA has increased bus service tremendously. But in New York, we have some of the slowest buses in the world. We need better bus lane infrastructure, and our buses might be coming more frequently, but they're still very slow, and we want to make sure that they can really match the frequency and speed of subway service to get riders to work on time.
Yeah, and that's something else that Sarah did say this morning, was that they would like to see an increased number of buses actually out there. They learned that quickly during the overnight, that some of them are overcrowded. Have you been in contact throughout the pandemic with the mayor's office? Does he actually listen to the Straphangers Campaign and the concerns of commuters?
Yeah, we, as advocates, we've been in touch with the DOT, the New York City DOT under the mayor's office, and we've been in touch with the MTA. And, I think that all levels of government are trying to work to move New Yorkers through this crisis. And, I think, there's a lot more that can be done. We were very excited to see that the mayor made a commitment to opening 100 miles of streets for New Yorkers as free space. And we'd like to see, an equal level of commitment to increasing bus lanes especially for essential riders. 30% of all bus riders pre-pandemic were essential workers. And so we know that essential workers depend on buses heavily, and we want to see a commitment to improving bus lane infrastructure as well.
Got it. Jackie, there can always be more that can be done, but so far, I think it's fair to say that there were no major hiccups, right? Everything can be tweaked and altered, but on the first night of this unprecedented thing, I think it went pretty smooth. So we thank you for your time. If you hear any more concerns or issues, let us know so we can bring them to our viewers and continue this conversation, okay?
Definitely. Will do. Thanks so much for having me on.
All right. Thanks so much, Jackie. Of course, take care and stay safe to you.